Welcome, brothers and sisters. My name is Eros and I am the tool maker. Also, welcome to the third episode about the tarot into our series about divination, in which I will give you my suggestion, my recommendation about the tarot. Now, I have chosen a few topics that usually comes out when we talk about the tarot more in specific, and of course mainly talking about the tarot in divination. The first topic that I have picked is how to read the meaning of the cards, single cards or couples, triplets and so on, even spreads. Now, there are three factors that we need to take always into consideration when we are talking about reading with the tarot to get the meaning of the cards. The first one is the basic meaning. The basic meaning, I am referring to what you've read on the booklet, so the very strict basic meaning of the cards, or that comes from the guides that you trust, or from the notes of your mentor. The second factor are your personal notes about the tarot that you, of course, are obtaining from your previous reading and from journaling your daily lectures, your daily readings with the cards. The third factor that we need to take into consideration is our experience and knowledge. These experience and knowledge are obtained from your practice, from your constant practice with the cards, but also from studying. So, studying books, participating to seminars, and watching professional videos about the tarot. Always take into consideration all three of these factors, because the basic meaning of the card may not always be applicable to every situation you are reading for. Why? Your personal notes may refer to a time frame in which we had a lesser and inferior understanding of the cards. And at the same time, your experience and knowledge may tend to suggest you standard solutions that are not always applicable to every sort of situation. Please do remember that for any form of divination, intuition is extremely important. It's not the only factor, of course, but intuition is the glue that keeps all of these three factors all together. Now, for the second topic, how to approach books about the tarot. We need to keep in mind that there are two main types of books about the tarot. The first kind is those kind of books that are focused on divination. And the second one is those books that are focused on the symbology, hidden, and the esoteric knowledge hidden inside the cards. If we are talking about books about the tarot that are mainly talking about divination, those books are a great start, especially if they are simple, and they tend to be less useful afterward. They are intended to jumpstart your practice in reading the tarot for a divinational purpose. And in an important note, those books, those guides are not a substitute of taking personal notes to better understand the tarot. Don't fall into the trap of only trusting the book. Please do also take your personal notes, while there are amazing books out there. Now let's talk about the second kind of books, those that are based on symbology. Those books are meant to be an exploration of the esoteric knowledge hidden, inserted inside your tarot. And this should be used as a mean of deeper understanding of the cards, not as a guide for divination. Please do not mistake these two kinds of books. Now, if you want to only obtain an academic knowledge of the cards, these kind of books, those that are based on symbology and esoteric knowledge, are the way to go. Otherwise, if you want to actually read the cards for a divinatory purpose, these books should be consulted in two situations. The first one, most common, further down the road in your path, after you have obtained a basic knowledge of the cards, to also understand if the book is valid, for example. And these books are consulted to obtain a deeper knowledge about the cards and of the cards. Or this book can be consulted when you are into a reading and you need to get deeper into a reading, when you need to get a different perspective of a card or a combination of cards, or because in your reading something doesn't really add up. For example, you don't fully understand what the cards are trying to say to you, to tell you, and you get that sort of feeling in which you get that idea of, I am missing something. Don't know if you got that feeling. Now, of course, these books can be academically consulted to find inspiration or to stimulate your intuition. But let's switch to the third topic of today, which is different spreads and games. How many different spreads and games do I need to know? Feel free to collect as much different spreads and games as you want. Just remember that a reading becomes actually really effective only when you have experience with it. So you should practice your games, your spreads, to actually make them work for you instead of collecting a lot of it. While, of course, I totally understand that a strong will to study, a strong will to collect all of these different spreads is not a problem, is never a problem, unless this thirst for knowledge to collect these spreads devours you and makes you delay your practice until you know every sort of different spread. Base your practice on the main spreads that you need, that we have discussed before in the previous video. Now, also on the same note, let's talk about the fourth topic, the topic that is collecting decks. Collecting decks is completely fine. If yours is an artistic endeavor, is completely fine. Feel free to collect as many decks as you want. But at the same time, please do remember, if you are going to actually read those decks, that is much better for a tarot reader to be an expert in the use of a single deck than being mediocre with 10 different decks, if you get what I mean. This is as simple as that. Let's switch to the next topic: when and where to read the tarots. Now, optimally speaking, when and where you will not be disturbed. It's optimal to read your cards in a calm space, and unfortunately things is not always in our favor, so we can't always read in an optimal space, especially in a calm and optimal tranquil space, especially when you are reading for others, so for a friend, for a sister, for a brother, for a client, why not? But while you are in the act of reading, at least as a sign of respect for the cards, try to avoid to be continuously disturbed. For the rest, you may want to light incense, for example, use a special cloth to read your card onto. You may want to light your walking candle if you have one, or you may even want to walk on your altar if you have one. And all of these optional are completely fine. They are fantastic options, but they are not strictly necessary. So they are options, as we said before. The next topic we want to discuss is how to keep your decks, of course, as secure as possible. In our tradition, the decks are kept in a soft cloth, and even though, unfortunately, in enough time, the boxes of your decks and the borders of your cards will be a little ruined throughout all of the years in which the decks will follow you. But at least try to keep your decks in the best possible condition for the next generation of readers. Now, please do remember, and I'm serious now, the study of the tarots is a lifetime endeavor. It's a lifetime journey, if you prefer. So practice seriously, but remember that the most important thing is to enjoy the journey. And I wish you a safe and wonderful travel. As always, I deeply thank you for your kind attention. I hope I will see you in the next videos, and may eternal light shine on.